So I've been following your teaching maybe a year. So when I see these people come here and they're like 15 years in, I was like, I'll never be called. I got so much time to get where they're at.
Well, you understand that desire and relationship to your desire is really sort of what we're about here more than anything. In other words, when you have a desire and you're far from it, you don't light up in the way of readiness. But when your desire and where you are closer together, then there's a greater probability of some movement and energy. And that's of advantage to you sitting here and to everyone else who is in on it too. Some just enjoy the sweet nectar of the energy. There's no ending. It's like you say, I've met a lot of people, and do you know they've been eating for, some of them, their whole life. I would have thought that they would have eaten enough decades ago, but they just keep eating. And I haven't been eating as long as they've been eating, and so I'm not sure if I'm as ready as they are.
Yes. I have a question about how to differentiate your intuition and what you're manifesting versus what your life experiences had given you already. So
should I rely on my practical experience or my now intuitive, inspired calling?
Yes, you go through life and you go through these experiences and you feel like you know, so you don't put yourself out there to do certain things. Okay, let's go relationship. I'm in this relationship.
A lot of times your experiences actually cause you to practice a vibration of hindrance.
Right.
And so the more experienced you are, the more resistance you have on the subject. That's why it's easier to create on subjects that you don't have a lot of history than on subjects where you do have a lot of practiced thought.
How do you not know if it's your tuition?
Well, let us give you a very clear answer, and then we want to talk about what you want to talk about, if you still want to talk about. So, one of the things, we know you have felt it. So here you are in a gathering, and here's Esther, and she seems sure of herself, and there's continuity to what she says, and logic to it, too, and you're feeling some resonance with it here and there, and here and there, and here and there. And so it would be possible, in fact it happens all the time, that someone in the audience comes to the conclusion that Esther's just really good at what she does and really believes what she is saying, as do a lot of people who talk about a lot of things, and many of them in absolute contradiction to what's going on here. And so this could just be another opinion that I am exposing myself to, and blah, blah, blah. And we say that falls into the category of words don't really teach. But as we play together, if we can get your attention about your relationship with your inner being, and we can help you to explore / remember that you are an extension of non-physical energy, so that the awareness of the two aspects of you are feeling some resonance with. And then we can offer some processes, or even in your listening in, your vibration rises as a result of just what you're paying attention to. So that, as in meditation, when you focus in a way that there's no resistance being introduced, your vibration naturally rises. And when that happens, you are in what we call the receiving mode of who you really are. You are under the influence of your broader perspective. And when you are under the influence of your broader perspective, that's when that intuition or impulses sometimes come. If you are able to make the association that I am tuned in, tapped in, turned on right now, I can feel that I'm under that influence, and you receive an inspiration that you then follow. And then the following of that leads to something that leads to something that gives you something that you've been wanting. Then you're able to make the personal association between what you accomplished vibrationally and what happened. But if you have not yet identified or made that association, if you are able to isolate emotion, isolate in essence a sort of cause and effect. I meditated, I quieted my mind. I know that I quieted my mind because I felt detached. And in that detached state, I felt better and better and better, which is logical to me that my vibration was rising. And then a clarity came over me where an idea came from a place that I had not experienced it before that was so sweet that when I tasted it, I wanted it and I followed it, and the payoff was obvious to me. So I've made the association. That's the sort of guidance that we want you to follow. And until you make that association, then it's sort of a crapshoot. Because the truth of it is, often, without doing it on purpose, you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on. And often, you get tuned in and you get an impulse and you follow it. But you often don't make the association between whether you were under the influence of your non-physical energy or not. That broader perspective is the question at hand here, isn't it? Esther has built a new house and moved into it a few months ago in San Antonio. And she's had a lot of experience with building projects. Lots of buildings out at the Abraham Hicks Publications property and lots of construction. Esther likes construction and she likes remodeling and she likes moving things around and she likes engaging with contractors and with workers. She really likes co-creating in physical ways. And so it's something that's really fun for her to do, and she's had a lot of experience at doing it. And because she's had a lot of experience at doing it, she can see when someone's in the mix who isn't focused. And so she sometimes asks herself this question: is this me remembering how something like that happened before and didn't go well? So I'm superimposing that old memory of something not going well, or am I intuitively picking up on this person? That's your question, isn't it? And the answer is, it doesn't matter, because the remedy is the same. Whether it's something from your past that you're using to clog it all up, or whether it's something that you're observing that is clogging it up, the answer is the same. Get off the subject that's clogging it up. Because you can't get to the solution by focusing on the problem.
I have two scenarios. One, I'll do the one first and then I'll end with the other one. Okay, so I'm pressure washing my home. And I'm looking at the pressure washer. I'm like, that thing is gonna break. So I'm pressure washing, like, I want to send it back. Like, okay, I don't want it to break, so I want to send that thing back into the universe and say it's not going to break. So I continue to pressure wash, and I continue, and then it breaks. I'm like, was that in my intuition to stop?
So the question is,
pressure washing?
Esther has asked herself this many times. Did I sense it was about to break, or did I break it?
Yes.
But once again, the answer is the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I sensed it and then pushed against in that way, or whether my pushing against is what broke it. The important thing is, what do I do now? Now what? Because once that's happened, now what? Now what? And so Esther, and you too, can read vibration. In the monster bus one day, Esther heard the refrigerator. She worked at a kitchen table very near to the refrigerator in this 45-foot bus. And she was accustomed to being there close to it. And one day she said to Jerry, something's wrong with the refrigerator. And Jerry said, what do you mean? And she said, it sounds different. And Jerry said, what do you mean? And she said, I can hear a difference in its frequency somehow. And Jerry said, what do you mean? And Esther said, I don't know, it just sounds different. Well, 2 days later, the compressor went out on the refrigerator. And Jerry said, boy, you were able to hear that. And Esther said, I don't know if I heard it or if I sensed it, because she couldn't describe what she was hearing, or if I sensed it. And he said, well, I guess it doesn't make any difference. So she got a sort of advanced announcement about it. So what is the advantage of an advanced announcement? Really not much advantage, because you weren't going to order a new pressure washer until that one really did kill itself. And Esther wasn't going to, it's not easy to find a compressor for a monster bus out in the middle of Omaha. I think there's going to be something wrong with my compressor and I would like to replace it. Okay, lady. I'll put this on the back burner, along with the other pile of crazy people that I've met before. the thing that we like so much about those experiences is that it helps you to identify and isolate what that felt like and then what happened, cause and effect again. There are a lot of things going on in this world with which you are interacting. And things that are of a physical nature are doing what they do, because everything that is physical has resistance. If there were not resistance, you couldn't even harness electricity. The thing that makes you able to use your electricity is that you are able to put some resistance on it so that you can utilize it and measure how much of it you are letting through, yes? And so resistance is part of the balance of physicality. It's a good thing, it's not a bad thing. So understanding that there is resistance in all things, and then learning from your own ability to decipher it, what it means, and then noting the relationship, that's really what we're teaching here. But instead of teaching you to listen for your compressor on your refrigerator or listen for the compressor on the pressure washer, we're asking you to listen to your emotions, which are a much more subtle reading of energies. And if you are always releasing your own resistance whenever you feel it, the pressure washer in you will never blow up if you're tending to it on a sort of moment by moment basis. What happens with humans, that's you all, is that you do want justification, meaning evidence that others can see, to justify things that you are doing. And that holds you way, 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 way back. It slows you way down. If you could just acknowledge that I feel things out ahead of time that most don't feel. And in the same way that I feel it with things like that, I can feel it with emotions too, which means I can do something about maintaining my balance before it gets to the point that the balance cannot be maintained.